I got back from the US straight into becoming a professional. When I came back from my internship, I came back as an architect pretty much. My parents had moved from Delhi to Bangalore. So I had with me, I couldn't go for my graduation, but I immediately kind of applied for my COA membership, IA membership, all that happened. And I was out there, in fact, went to CNT for an interview. And I remember Mr. Thacker, because I came from Pittsburgh, I had seen Falling Water. He was very excited because the FLW is something they really, at that point, held in very high esteem. So I did get the job, but then I chose to go with a small firm because I felt that maybe this whole thing that you guys also probably have, should it be a small firm with just 4 or 5 people, or should we go into a large firm? And I chose to go with a small firm. And I think Ethos is a result of that. If I had gone with CNT, it would have been a very design-centric career, and my life would have moved in a very different way, because I think I would have got what I wanted at CNT, which I didn't when I went to the smaller firm. Very unhappy with what I was being made to do. I took a training program with Indian Institute of Science, Karnataka State Council for Science and Technology. We worked on civilized mud blocks and all that. I realized where I wanted to get, and chose to leave this firm that I had joined, and responded to an advertisement for a creative educationist in slums. Said nothing to do with architecture, but I said I'd rather do something that kind of keeps me happy while I'm working with KSCST and trying to figure life out. We'll see what happens. I responded to the ad. There was an interview. This was with Association for Voluntary Action and Services, an NGO run by a very dear friend now, Anita Reddy, and they needed an architect. It's just how life turns out. It was all the quote unquote, the scary thing is it was by chance that these things happened, not necessarily by choice. So yes, I joined them on board as a architect. I worked with this NGO for close to 10 years, including my break years where I had my 2 boys. We moved out for a little bit, came back, and so on. Now I'm a trustee at that NGO as well. Still continue to be associated with them. We did a few housing projects and worked with grassroots on them building their own homes rather than us telling them what to build. Getting them to design and draw their own dream homes and things. The most exciting phase of my life, really, is what I would say. Until we moved to Kolkata, which is when I realized that I can't work with the slums anymore, because here, at least, because I didn't know Bengali at that time, now I do. And also here, working with the slums also calls for some amount of political affiliation and things like that, which I was too young at that point to even understand. And hence Ethos happened. So yes, that's the transition. I think it would be, like I said, finding what you really, finding that alignment between what you're good at, what you like to do, and what would end up being a good career for you. They could be 3 completely different things, but could they end up being, at least in some way, coming together at some point? That would be the best situation for it. So like I tell Anita even today, that a lot of what I am is probably my experience with AVAS. Empathy for people is something, I think it's important for every one of us. I give this as a message. Even if it's 6 months of your life, give it completely to something that you really believe in and want to do. I think it'll change. It'll make certain things part of your personality, such that in everything that you do, you will say, no, I cannot compromise on these basic principles that I have made for myself. And it's something that will bring more conviction in what you're doing. And you will say, it doesn't matter if, this project doesn't come my way, but I will not go that way. And I think that's what AVAS did for me. Working, I used to spend, used to leave at 6:30 in the morning, because that's when the slum dwellers would be there before they went out for their day's work. The men, at least, to start with. Then during the day, when the women came back, one again spent time talking to them. And of course, sometimes you would have late evening sessions also, meetings also. So working with the youth there to get them to start making stabilized mud blocks as an income generation activity, while quote unquote they were even trying to flirt with me because I was just out of college and things like that. So it was a different time altogether. It was a experience that I think certainly the person I am has a lot to do. If I hadn't done those few things in life, maybe the ethics or the ethos of Ethos would have been very different also. So I think, Ethos is my life just now. So yes, it's like I remember, of course, 2 years ago I wrote, and I send out a New Year message every year to a few people, and I said my third baby is on its way, and that was Asage. So yes, the reason I say Ethos is my life is also because my kids have gone with me to most of my quizzes as children, giving out audience prizes and things like that. So it was something that the family also kind of did together. So yes, we started. How did Ethos start? Also is an interesting experience. When I moved to Calcutta, I was sitting at Jadavpur University, the library, waiting to meet the HOD, thinking, what is it that I can do in Kolkata? Let's see if I can get into some kind of a teaching position or something like that. And then while sitting in the library, it suddenly struck me because brand equity was a big name those days, the corporate quiz. And then I said, why not a quiz on architecture? And I just left the library without meeting the principal or anything like that, and went and started writing notes on how this quiz could work. And I took it to the people who actually started brand equity, asked their advice on whether it would work, and that's how the quiz started. I think having done that first year of the quiz and seeing the enthusiasm of the students got me, the conviction that this is the way to go. Kind of started building important, and then I started getting. And those days, it would be calls from students or emails from students. Now it's Messenger and WhatsApps that I get, who would say, can you guide me on this? Can you let us know? So I realized that, it's not really an agony aunt position that I can answer some questions, but there are a lot of issues that you guys as students face which need answering. And I said, I cannot give you all those answers. So can we facilitate different platforms that could probably help answer some of those questions? Not everybody who is interested in an IGBC design competition would be interested, say, in a transparency. The kind of people who take part in, say, the NASA trophy, the Ethos trophy that we do with NASA, may not be the same people who would take part in something else, because architecture is so personal as a that it is going to be different. So these are all things that one has learned. I learn every day. I mean, so what has Ethos done for me? Every day is kind of a learning, not just on our field, but also on how to deal with things in life. And my team is superb at teaching me some of those lessons as well. So it's been a long tenure. The original tenure was supposed to be 2015 to 2017, which is when the new team was supposed to take charge. There have been certain issues because of which I continue to be the chair. The first 2 years was extremely active. We did. I mean, I can't tell you the kind of activities we did. We can write volumes on the kind of engagement we had. Of course, with the fraternity, we did the national convention in Kolkata, got the best of architects, including Fumiko Maki here, who spoke, and so on. Then we went on to engage a lot with the government, with issues that architects faced in terms of maybe getting sanctions, being forced to get impaneled. So there were a lot of liaising that one did in that first 2 years. It went on for the third year and the fourth year. I am a little kind of taking a bit of a backseat just now because I think there are others who also should be active and doing things. So the vice chairman is actually kind of taking charge just now. But for instance, even with the COVID crisis, we've gone ahead and we have a building that belongs to the IIA in Kolkata, which we've offered as a quarantine facility to the government, which has been actioned out and has been accepted and has been actioned out. Infrastructure has been put in place there as well. So how has it made a difference to me as a person? I'm not so sure I can say. It has definitely helped build bonds across just not architects in Bengal, but across from various regions as well. Definitely this position has given that. But I think this position also comes with a lot of responsibility of being answerable to architects, to your fraternity, to being seen in platforms of whether it is government or if it is other platforms where you're being seen as representing the cause of architects. So it comes with a whole lot of responsibility. So you really need to keep updated. Me not being from the practice, quote unquote, as they call it, I had to do a lot of work on my own to keep pace with what's happening and to be able to represent our issues carefully. So I had to continuously keep myself updated, and I still continue to